Michael.
How you doing, Dave?
I am well, thanks. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
And hi, everybody. I don't know, my machine hasn't updated in a while, so it's either all 11 of us right now, or
I can see 12, 13. We're climbing.
Okay. So yeah, I got to update mine. There's something weird about YouTube sometimes with this thing. It lags for no reason sometimes, and sometimes it's totally caught up. So I'm resyncing it and see how far off it is. Usually, in its best case, it's about a 4-second delay. And I don't know if everybody knows this. First of all, everybody, this is Michael Smyer.
How's everyone doing?
The resident Uber genius. Yeah, there we go.
Not quite, but I try to make things happen around here.
If you take everything that I know and put it in a Michael Smyer sized thimble, there would still be room for the Atlantic. Michael is just not only so knowledgeable and so intelligent, but he is so broad spectrum. So everything from programming to, well, you know what, Michael, take over. There's somebody official at my door.
Okay.
So, I'll be back in 40 seconds.
I am not quite sure what to do at this point, but how's everyone doing out there? How you doing, Tolwood? How you doing, Zach? How you doing, Armando? How's everything going out there?
All right, I'm back. FedEx people look very official. He looked like a cop. Of course, the police are always coming to my door, so I have to answer that.
Nice.
All right, good. Here comes everybody. So hi, everybody. My wish came true. It was, I wish you were here.
Good. And
you're all here. There, I beat you to that one, Tullowit. I know, you'll do better. So if I stick up a concert shirt, Michael, Tullowit and a number of others make puns out of titles of those songs.
Gotcha.
I get the first one in. Well, let's start business. Welcome, everybody. It is Pi Day Friday. Usually joined by my partner in Pi, Scott Jernigan. As you all know, he is working like a dog to complete the Security Plus book. And he took yesterday and today and said, I am putting everything else on back burners. He didn't even turn up for our morning meeting this morning. He just sent a text to Michael and I and said, you guys do the show. Don't bother me. So.
Oh yeah, he's going to be working all weekend, I'm pretty sure as well. So.
Yeah. Plus, and as much as he wants to, there are pressing things that happen in his neighborhood this weekend. It's a lights in the heights kind of thing. So of course, everybody has seen his pictures of his setup, but he has to work that too. And
are they judging this weekend
with a laptop?
Dave, are they judging the lights this weekend?
I don't know if this is judgment weekend or not. This weekend or next weekend. What is it? Today's the 11th. Next weekend's the 18th. Okay. Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. I know they're not having the big party this year, the big block party. So.
Yeah, not so much. But he said the first night that they opened things up, the crowds were almost as big as normal.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I know. That's really amazing. Maybe not for his neck of the woods, though. People are so into what he does there.
I need to go drive through the neighborhood at least and check out how it looks this year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well,
photos never quite do him justice.
Okay. I'm going to do a tad of sharing here. Our big crowd here mostly have seen this, but there's always a new face in the crowd. So the goal of this episode of this stream and this drama, Dave Rush Ask Me Anything, and Michael Dramam, is for you to ask questions about anything you want. We're fair game with any CompTIA certification, any computer technology for the most part, just about any topic except religion and politics. And I don't want to hear another word about COVID until the last vaccine is given. But of course, our focus here is Raspberry Pi. We use Raspberry Pis in a learning environment and just on their own for the fun that they are. So we want you to post questions, but if you don't want to post a question, but you still want to get in contact with us, you don't have time, you don't feel like it, do it now, you can do this after the fact. If you're watching this on the archive, posting to the YouTube chat feed will not do you any good, but you can still get in touch with myself or Michael or Scott J at our company address, Dave R, because I'm Dave Rush at TotalSem.com, Michael S, because he's Michael Smyer at TotalSem.com. Scott's not here, but Scott J, I'll bet you know how that ends. And feel free to ask us questions. We got a couple questions this week. Elbow was talking to us either yesterday or this morning. passed along some info to him. He's working on that project that many of you have seen on, excuse me, Mike's AMAs, where Elbow and some of his compatriots have been working on a build that is fighting them mightily. And it looks like he's narrowing down the direction. Maybe it's a RAM issue. So we talked a little bit about that. I don't know, Mike started this too the other day. He asked us about a month ago to just start an experiment with asking you to like and subscribe. So, okay, like and subscribe, please. And he started doing that on his AMA. So he hasn't explained to me what the rationale is, why this is important or why it's not, but he wants people to like and subscribe. So if you haven't already,
I can tell you, it's actually very good for the channel. It's subscribing to the channel and actually clicking the little notification bell if you want will make sure that any future live streams show up in your YouTube feed, and you'll get notified when there's a live stream coming up or any other videos are posted. And it helps the channel too. As more people subscribe, YouTube recommends the channel to more people out there in YouTube land, and so just kind of gets the word out. And,
yeah, avalanche effect. That's
yeah. So it's definitely, it helps us. It helps any other channels that you like out there. So subscribing and clicking the notification bell and liking individual videos is a great way to easily help a channel that you're enjoying and let other people know.
Great, thank you. See, Michael knows all this stuff, and he's intimately involved in the behind the scenes YouTubing. You know, when we're doing these, Michael is in the background controlling them and managing it, and it's really fun.
I'm the one who's starting and stopping Dave's Friday. So I'm usually here in the background. I click to start, let Dave know when it starts, and I click in when he gives the sign off. So
if you have a tough question that we can't answer, as long as you post it up there, Michael, we know Michael's watching. We'll copy it and send it on the back channel, and he'll either answer it on the back channel or maybe we invite him to come and address it personally. Hey, you also know the drill, and this week is special. Every week, Total Seminars has a different discount program. This week is kind of like last week's, but with something new. We still have 50% off A+, Net+, Total Tester, and Total Tester Sims bundles, and Sec+ Total Tester. Sims are well underway. My understanding is they got handed up to the next group in our company, and now are just waiting to go up on our hub and get tested by some of our beta testers. And once that's done, we got Sec+ Sims. What do you have to add to that, Michael?
Not a whole lot. Although I've been working on other products, but
okay.
There's definitely more products going up to the hub all the time. So.
Yeah. I think from you, I got from the morning meeting, some of the side discussion you were having, that's where they had moved up to the production people or whoever's supposed to upload those. So
some CYSA stuff is going up. We got ebooks going up, things like that.
Super. So. Okay, well, that's where I was going next. So perfect. The other special this week is apparently, I may have this slightly off, but anything you buy, those are the words that Mike used on his AMA, you will also get a free ebook with any purchase. I may be wrong. I'm reading the text here. Free Security Plus ebook with purchase of this week's AMA discount. Let's go with that because that's the only thing I have in writing. But you know, Mike sometimes uses different words than what's on the page, so he might have bumbled that just a hair. So in any case, use the checkout code 120720. That was Monday's dates, good through this Sunday, December 13th. And we want you to take advantage of this. It's getting toward end of year. If you've set a goal to first quarter of next year or sooner to pass a CompTIA exam, these things are already insanely low priced. By the time Mike builds a deal on them or the marketing department does, we're practically giving them away. We lose money on every sale, but we make it up in volume. I love that line. Well, let's see who is with us. Elbow turns in a half an hour before the show starts. I shouldn't even look at this. I shouldn't look at anything till 2, but there's only 5 or 6. So greetings, Connor, and the usual rogues gallery. Marty McFly I would have jumped on that if I'd seen that name before. So it might have been on Mike's and I didn't see it, but good name. I like it. Alan Duggan, greetings, an early arrival. And Zach, seen you very busy lately on the unofficial Discord channel. Hey, I'll throw this up again later, but Jose Braden is a regular watcher of Mike's AMAs and sometimes these AMAs. And long time ago, somebody said, you know, we should set up a Discord or something for everybody who enjoys this 2 hours every other day that we could talk anytime we want. And Jose Braden took the challenge and he built a Discord channel. It's the unofficial Mike Myers channel. Has nothing to do with Total Seminars, has nothing to do with Mike. But those of us who watch and participate in Mike's shows and this show hang out there, and lots of other folks have begun to join us there. So
yeah, I know you guys are pretty regulars there after the stream.
Yes. Yeah, I will certainly be there after this stream for a little while. I go after every stream for a bit. Stand by, getting the share button. There it is.
Nice.
So I would post it on the chat, but I am like the low man on the totem pole here. I don't have the ability to post that. So
I think I can.
DG, and then all these happy things. You can pause this or watch it on the archive and join anytime. Do a playback on this. You'll see it at time mark about 11 minutes after the hour. So there are, I think I saw 72 participants on it when I was on there yesterday. So come on in. We talk about anything, and we are a lot less what Mike would call politically correct when we're communicating on that channel. I got to wear my button down and I got to use all the right words. But Scott and I, and well, not Scott, but Mike and I tend to be a little more free spirited over on Discord. So hope to see you there after the show.
So this is the unofficial MM Live Discord server.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in there.
Oh, great.
Hopefully I typed that, so hopefully it's not a bad link.
I can
let me know if it is.
If it gags, Michael, I can put it in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
In fact, I'll do that right now. So it just takes an hour. Wonder if I can get it off of here. Sorry, being silent on, there we go. Okay, I'm able to do that. Let's see if I was able to copy. My PDF reader, at least some of the PDFs that I get, don't allow me to copy and paste. It's very weird.
PDF, I've been dealing with a bunch of PDFs lately, and they are a frustrating format, to say the least.
All right, where's the chat? And there it is, Alt-H. Hey, it showed up.
Nice. Okay, yeah. That looks like, yeah, that looks right.
Okay, good. Thanks.
You should be good.
All right, so please join us afterward, and that'll also help Jose's numbers on his channel. Follow it. Hey, it's totally real person, Michael Smyer. Yeah, so there's a lot of people who hear us talk about Michael Smyer when we're working with Mike Myers, and people are under the impression that that's an anagram or something that's not real.
No.
But live and in the flesh, a person calling himself Michael Smyer. Armando P, greetings. Nice to have you here. Yes, doing fine, says Zach. Great to see you. Brendan S, my friend. Brendan S. I'm going to always call you Brandon because the Brandon came in first.
FYI, Dave, we can create polls in the chat if you ever want to be able to do that. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah, I know, right?
The other day, Scott and I and Mike about whatever our last show of the year is going to be. It's probably going to be mine because Christmas Day falls on a Friday and New Year's Eve falls on a Friday, or New Year's Day rather. So we're not going to do real shows, but then somebody posted an idea that we should do an open Zoom channel to as many people as my Zoom supports. I think it's 100. It's at least 49. And see how many people we can get on and have some kind of an interesting little everybody check-in free-for-all. So be thinking about that in the next 2.5 weeks. If you would like to participate in a Zoom free-for-all with us, we'll try and find some way to make it manageable and intelligible. get a camera, get a mic. You got a couple of weeks ready. It doesn't have to be high quality. And we're really kind of behind this. We're chewing on this hard. Hey, Dr. Quinn, good to see you. Happy 3.14. That's not till March. But okay, Pi Day Friday. I do love Pi Day. 3.14. Something really good happens on Pi Day. That's when, not always when, because there was a big announcement this week, but when Pi Foundation introduces their new product or many new products, they always do it on Pi Day and or a great sale or something like that.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Of
course they would.
Yeah, I look forward to Christmas and Pi Day for exactly that reason.
I know
Delgado, any SY0601 training materials being produced by Total Sim. Not sure if you were here when we started this. I think you were. Yes, Scott and Mike are very near the end of completing the book. So once they do that, you can't imagine what goes into writing a book. I was not in publishing before I joined Total Seminars 10 years ago. Michael's been with the company much longer than that and has been involved with the publishing aspects. And he has a lot of actual personal hands-on that I'm going to turn over to him to get this process done. But it starts out with writing a book, and it's done by chapter, and then each chapter is handed off to one kind of editor, a copy editor, and then that comes back for all kinds of fixes and things like that. And then it goes to a tech editor who checks, are we telling the truth here? Are we telling the complete truth? And that comes back and the rewrites. And then finally, the content gets its blessing. Michael shoots photographs and illustrations for inserting. And then when it gets super blessed and says, okay, this is the way it's going to be when it goes in the book. Michael, what do you do? What's the term?
Actually, at that point, I'm actually more on the photograph side. I'm much earlier in that process.
Okay.
So when the very beginning of the process, after Dave will be doing, actually Dave's often will be at the start of this, where you're actually checking to see what do you actually need to update. But the very first beginning of this we call the first writes. And that's where you go in and say, okay, this is everything that needs to change in the chapters, and you write the chapter. And then it goes to tech edit. And that's actually, usually in that first writes, in that whole process is when I'm doing the photographs. So I get a chapter after it's been written, and then I'll go in and take photographs or hunt down photographs for licensing and things like that. And then it ping pongs back to editors. And then finally the end process is layout. So it goes to the layout guys, and they do called page proofs, where we get a PDF of the pages, how they're actually going to look in the book. And then you have to go through that and Scott will print out every page of a book. And for the A+, that's 1,000+ pages.
Yeah,
so we will go through reams and reams of paper. And this gets printed out, like each page, often somewhere to twice. So, you know, literally like one of those whole big giant ream boxes of office paper, print out every page, go through with a red pen and check them all for errors. And then that's the final process. And then it goes back to McGraw-Hill and they check, and then they'll insert the corrections. And then finally it's off to the printers and you guys.
And there's more to it. Michael does research and writing. He works with another gent or some other folks in the company to do that. I do the same thing. I do a little bit of writing and I do a lot of research. It's a really, really involved process. So the book is almost done. It's been through many of those processes, a little bit more writing toward the end and some assembly. Some marketing person has to get their hands on it and say, hey, we got to put this kind of marketing material in the end of it. And
oh yeah, the book ads.
Yeah,
I get involved with those too.
Yeah. So there's much to it, but it's happening very fast. We are rapidly closing in on the end. The goal and hope was to complete by end of November. I don't think we've ever made a schedule in time like that, but we're always just a little bit late. And we're still very close to beating everybody else to the punch. I don't know if you saw it on Wednesday. We had a guest expert on who wrote Mike Meyer's Passport 601 book. That's out. It's the electronic version is available right now. The hard copy version is in 1 to 2 weeks. They're printing it and distributing it to Amazon and booksellers and things like that. So if you're looking for a just the facts kind of book, I don't need all the background. I know generally 501 topics or security topics, and I just want to prep for the exam. Pick up the Passport book. You'll get it in very, very short order. As I said, you can have the electronic book right now or in 1 to 2 weeks. It'll be in stock at Amazon and through TotalSem. You can order it straight from us.
In fact, the Passport books, they've made a little bit change within the Passport series, that they're now organized strictly by the domain objectives. So when you go onto CompTIA's site and you download the exam objectives domains, that is literally the organization of the books. So there are however many domains there are, that's how many chapters there are. And then,
man, you can't imagine how many questions I get. Oh, I can't check off each domain because Mike teaches it in a teaching order. Well, that's the way Mike thinks, and the way. So this is wonderful that's a new mandate. So love that.
Yeah. So all the Passport books are broken out by domain now, and the regular books, like the all-in-one series, are I guess you might call them a more logical order. Yeah, teaching order is a better description.
Yeah, it's definitely, teaching order is So yeah, if you don't have a lot of background, Mike's book is the way to go. The teaching orders, because you're going to learn from fundamentals and foundations up through advanced. But if you just want the facts and I want to check off each domain as I get those facts, Passport, way to go. Tollowit is punning me again at 2:05. Zach, I have a tech question that I hope you can help me with. Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, when I right click in any folder, any folder on my computer, when I go to new and add new folder, that is no longer there. Oh yeah, I saw you talked a little bit about this on the Discord channel. And I think you mentioned that this was on that external hard drive. I was just about to post an answer, in fact, or a possibility before we started the show.
Permissions?
I have a feeling that on that external drive, or maybe you've internalized it or whatever, this is an issue of ownership. I've got a feeling that you don't have the permissions to do what you're trying to do. And if you take ownership of one of the folders that's above where you're trying to do this, use an admin account, of course, I think that's going to fix your problem. If not, you got something else a little weird and wacky going on. But
almost assuredly, unless something really strange is going on, that would be the thing. Windows permissions can get a little bit crazy. It's very fine-grained.
Very much.
Yeah.
Hey, Patricia Grace. Luke Butler, my Pi 3 arrived today. Still waiting for the case, though. Okay, so if you are desperately looking to play with it, I have one sitting in my living room. It's a Pi hole. It has no case. I have it in a little cardboard box. So as long as you can keep that bottom circuitry from contacting anything metal, and plan for slippage and things like that, but in a little cardboard, and don't even enclose the cardboard box, just tape up 4 sides around it, you're ready to play.
Shoot, when we're working on motherboards at the office, we often just stick them on top of the motherboard box.
Yeah, exactly right. Or even on the plastic that they came in on that box. Jeremy Fly, any books you can recommend in getting started with Raspberry Pi? I don't have the title offhand, but the book of choice is the one that was written by the developer of the Pi, of course, Dr. Eben Upton, and you can go over to raspberrypi.org. In their store, you'll see his books. He's got a couple really good books there. One is using the Pi and learning from it and things like that. His other one, if you're really into deep tech and you want to learn how CPUs work and computer architecture, he wrote a book on computer architecture using the Raspberry Pi as the teaching foundation. It's very cool. I read it last year or early this year, actually, and just gave me chills. I've been through a number of architecture books like that. Michael speaks Harvard architecture in his sleep.
I don't know about that, but
yeah, so using it, and there's a million of them out there. There's Raspberry Pi for Dummies. I really hate that title and that whole title series. I don't think people out there.
That thing's been around forever. Whatever happened to the Bible ones? Remember, there used to be a whole series about the Bibles of
Yeah,
whatever,
PC Bible
whatever.
and PC internals Bibles and things like that.
And they're always like that thick.
Right. Yeah, but I don't have a specific title offhand, Marty. It's a good question. I'm going to keep that posted, and I will have a list by next week. So let me put that in my handy dandy little notepad here. Bingo. Oh, 206. Windows key plus R and type sysdm dot control panel, run, click OK, press system. This is an answer to somebody else's question.
It's Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, we got reconnection. I think we're good.
Hey, all right, I see pictures. Sorry about that, guys. Something glitched and crashed. We don't know if it was YouTube or Zoom, but we reset everything and we're back.
Give it a second. Yeah, stream is healthy.
Yeah, and we still have questions back where we did, so haven't lost anything. Super. Sorry about that, guys. Modern technology. It ain't perfect, but at least it's fixable.
Right.
All right, I'm picking it up at 2:17. If I missed any questions before that, post them again. Okay, Elbow had to step out. It's not on the hour. You have another 32 minutes before you have lunch, Elbow. He has a very good schedule. We all know it, and Alice watches him and vice versa. Oh, yes, great gig in the sky. So that's the line. Oh my gosh, I am like, both of us are totally fuzzed, Michael, on my view here. Are you?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Okay. All right, it's some things feed, but if you're seeing it fine, then I'm good. I can look at myself fuzzy.
Yeah.
And there goes Alice nailing him. Yeah, my goal here is we're going to do this whole, we got an hour and a half left, and I'm going to do it until we're comfortably numb. Number 2, thank you very much. That's all I set up for. You're good for the rest. Zach Morrill, any other ideas on this silly situation I'm in, Tullowit? Yes, don't talk to Tullowit. If you want advice, talk to Michael.
Yeah, I saw that Zach was asking a little further down at 224 about, it says, look for some reason all the folders on the computer is set to read only, but every time I change it, it goes back to read for an administrator account. That is an odd one. And I wasn't quite sure from what Zach posted here if when he says all the folders are set to read only, if that was the external hard drive that he's having trouble with, or if that's like everything, like his C drive. That would probably not be great if it was the system drive.
In the Discord channel, if I remember correctly, there's a lot of conversation going on about this, that this was a very old external drive that he was using for backups. So I'm wondering, very old, if there's read-write permissions on a FAT system, or if it's an older rev of NTFS that may have a compatibility.
Well,
I think NTFS is pretty backward compatible.
He just posted further down that said everything, including the C drive, is set to read only.
Wow.
That kind of is starting to feel like maybe a corrupt Windows install or something like that.
Yeah.
I think Tolowitz mentioning earlier about possibly doing some sort of repair on Windows 10 might not be a bad idea to look at.
I know they ran SFC scan now and found some issues. So, you know, the reboot and the check disk run that comes with that might be appropriate. But yeah, something core is impacted.
Yeah.
Blow it all away and start over. Okay, well, you know what? If it's read only, another external hard drive, you could copy everything to it, and it won't carry over those attributes. If it's an attribute, it's the read-only attribute, not a permission issue, then he can reset the entire attributes.
You could, yeah, you could literally go through
a high-level folder, starting at the C drive. It sounds like right-click properties, attributes, unclick read-only, and have that to apply to all subfolders. That may be the fix. Somebody might have been playing around with the attributes.
But be cautious. If it's everything on your system, messing around with all of the file permissions and
Good call.
attributes very well could nuke your system.
Yeah, do it with a safe test subfolder.
Be ready. Just be ready to have anything everything backed up that's important.
Yeah.
And it might just be that you'll need to do like a Windows refresh too. That's another option if going in and just saying and setting the permissions directly doesn't help.
Yeah. Hey, question for you at 2:25, Michael. Alice Potsy. Michael, do you have a Pi?
I did respond to her. I do not actually. I have an Arduino.
Yes, he does. I've played with that.
But I do not have a Pi. So
Christmas is coming. We haven't done a company gift exchange program, but I will next time I'm down at the office, I'll leave one on your desk.
Okay, I will accept one. If anything, if only to have a Pi hole.
It's such a horrible sounding name sometimes in the wrong context.
It really is.
Dave stepped on one of the gerbils. Yeah, I don't know, buffering, whatever. I refreshed again and I'm sharp again, so I don't know where that's coming from, but it's working, so I don't care. Is it us or them? Come on, somebody's got to beat Tullowit to some Pink Floyd puns here, folks. Yeah, okay, so if you're buffering, that's not me. That came out of YouTube, if everybody's hitting it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking, I see the YouTube feed seems clean now, and I'm showing an excellent connection for our data feed to YouTube.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just bypassing.
I do wonder, it could be that, let's see, Google status.
Hey, thank you, Elbow.
Yeah.
So Tullowit doesn't get all the puns. Good call at 2:28. We had to reset Zoom and speak to me. I was starting to think there was nobody home. Well, I can't prove that there is. Saw a show the other day. Somebody was talking about the show must go on, and the question was, why? What do we owe the world? Oh man, Shine On, one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Arduino. Yeah, right. Michael is a coder of all kinds of flavors. He wrote a code with his Arduino that managed a 3-color LED setup.
Yeah, it wasn't much more than the hello world of hardware.
Hey, since you mentioned that, some of you know this. I worked with a guy 4 years ago on a project. I keep leaving that upstairs, but it was how to make an LED display, a numeric display, plug into your GPIO ports and put the IP address or any other numerical data that you wanted to send to this thing. And he'd written a Python program and a C program to make all this work. And he designed the circuitry and actually had circuit boards made and everything. And was really pro. And so I ordered one from him, and we had some issues making it work. And I worked together with him a little bit and played with a little bit. There you go. There's the Arduino. It needs more light.
Yeah, it does. Got a breadboard to go with it.
You guys have seen my breadboard like that? Super cool.
Yeah.
So I looked at his Python code, and that was when I kind of started to get a little bit of understanding, just the ittiest bittiest of it. So I picked up that project again a week ago or so, because I've been taking along, and some of you have been taking this Python course on Udemy and learn a lot about it. And so I just kind of went back to look at his code and see if I could, learn real world applications of what he'd done. And I learned that his code doesn't work anymore because of the changes in Raspberry Pi OS. So I started working on it. I have enough information now that I was actually able to fix the non-working stuff. It was pretty cool. And so I wrote him a note. Hey, we worked together 4 years ago. You probably don't remember me, and I didn't have much to do. I'm basically your eyes and ears on a project, but here's what I'm up to these days. And he says, oh, that's super cool. I'm going to pick up that project again. And he did. And he and I have worked over the last 4 days late at night. He's out in Arizona, writing new code that takes the LED. Remember, we did a power on LED exercise here. You use that same exercise, and then we just wrote some Python code to make it flash the IP address in Morse code. Yeah, I know you don't have to want to learn Morse code. We're going to do that in the project because numbers are the easiest thing to learn in Morse code. There's 26 letters and there's all kinds of punctuation, and but numbers are the only thing that have 5 characters in them. And I'll teach you how to do it right now. This is really easy. 1 dot and 4 dashes, which we call dits and das. So dit, da, 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 da is 1. 2 and 3 is 2. 3 and 2 is 1. 4 dits and a da is 5, and so forth. Yeah, and then we start da dit, 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 da, da, dit, dit, da, 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 dit, dit, da, 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 dit, and da, 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 da is 0. So it's really, really, really easy to learn. I'll do that again when we do this as a project, and it'll be our simple. You're not going to have to code. You can be able to copy his code and run it, but just cool. Another neat way to use a single LED to communicate with the world.
Do you need to do anything funky? Can you just, well, the LED, can you just plug it straight into the...
you need a resistor.
There. You do need a resistor other than
like
that.
on the Arduino. But yeah, it's just a really fun and simple thing to do. I'll get you involved when we do the project. Or maybe I'll come down to the office and we'll do one together down there as the lab. It's only 2 weeks as I put an SSD in on this Total C drive. That's
yeah.
Well, if it's only 2 weeks old, I'm with Michael then, an OS refresh. Alice, at 2:31 this morning, I got a Google foobar that invited me to play a coding game. Well, they do that. There's coding contests out there and there's coding games. I don't know if it's legit. What do you think, Michael?
The Google, yes. If I've done that in the past too, where I was searching for Python list comprehensions, I do believe was the search term I used. And
okay.
Google actually opened up like the page, like 3D kind of like split and opened, and then like said like kind of invited you in.
Oh, that's so
you
cool.
Click into it, and it was a game which can only assume was designed to look for is basically kind of a job thing. So they're looking for coders. Yeah. It is in fact, what you'll see a lot of places do this kind of thing where if you look in the developer tools on websites, especially, yes, exactly, Alice, it's a recruiting tool. Google's done this, they're famous for it. They posted like cryptic URL or something like that in the San Francisco Bay Area that led, like if you decoded it, it would lead to another place, and then you kind of had to follow this chain of little games, and then finally it was kind of like, hey, maybe you want to interview with us kind of thing.
That's awesome. Okay, old timers, that triggered a thought. Back in the early 80s, if I remember right, there was a really cheesy sci-fi movie that was kind of the premise. There's a big alien war going on out there, and we need smart starfighter pilots. It probably had that somewhere in the title. That's what I want from you old timers. Give me the title of this thing. So they put this video game, sort of a Pac-Man type game that's got starfighter things in it. That's really a simulation test. So the best game player on Earth plays this thing and kicks butt gets recruited by the alien good guys to be one of their pilots.
In fact, if you want to see one, here if I share my screen here, I'll show you. So Reddit, if you go and look at the developer tools for Reddit, you'll see this. Let's see if it'll go live here.
Content blocker prevented frame from displaying.
Can you see it?
No, I see content blocker warnings unless that's what we're supposed to see.
Oh no, that's weird. Okay. I don't know what it is, but if anyone goes, if you look at the developer tools in for Reddit in the console, you'll see at the bottom they print out, it says using Reddit at work for Reddit, and it's a job pitch.
Post the URL for it when you get a chance.
Oh, I think it went live. You can see it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, some a little ASCII art of their logo.
Yeah, it was ASCII art. Okay. Yeah, I saw that down in the lower left. All right.
Yeah.
Alice, yes, I think based on a couple of things that you have told us in the last few days, you should do this. Number one, you're locked down, you're in Italy. And number two, you got rid of all of the booze at your place to avoid drinking at home during lockdown. So you have nothing to do but code and do coding games. So go play with it. Let's see, empty spaces. I'm sliding by them all, Tullowit, except the ones that I love. C. Parker, hello, was in Scott J's PC hardware class. Which one? Is on Udemy, on a stand-up class that he did on Ed2Go? Let us know, and we will pass along your greetings. And about when, also, if you can remember. Elsponsi's talking to Elbow. Zach is talking to you. Tried that, goes back to read. That's just, man. That's one of those ones I would like to sit down in front of and be able to, not ask questions and say, try this and wait for a response. I want to go and work it. Benvenuto.
R2D2.
Or in French, bienvenue, because I do that one better. Go full in camera in Discord. You can see what us nerds look like in real life. Yeah, definitely, Elbow. Get on camera over in Discord. I got a pie hole. My mouth. Andre. Oh, so glad Andre could show up. I can't tell you how many times my parents as a kid said, shut your pie hole. And I said, Mom, Dad, you're not even English. Total Seminars is talking to Zach, passing 224. Oh, I just super scrolled. Everybody knows what that means. All right, going back to the 230s. Money. How are we doing here on time? It's 43. Okay, we're going to do questions for another 17 minutes, for another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to do news, tips of the week, then a few more questions, and then on to SAMBA, which is so cool. It used to be really hard to set up the new labs. Just follow them, and it's so quick and so easy. I'm looking at Tullowit's puns. Passing 235. Where's my don't show Tullowit post?
We'll have to do the block here. Hold on.
Yeah, just looking for the anti-pun stream. Okay, stream, fine, good.
We don't want to set up an us versus them thing here, Dave.
Yes, I was speaking R2D2. See, that's the kind of Easter egg I would love if they would build that in. You take something that beeps, but actually sneak some real Morse code in. Yes, I speak Morse code for real. I know that's the cool thing about Pink Floyd Day. What a catalog of titles. No one knows their titles. They know their songs, but they don't know their titles, except Money, a couple of others like that. But oftentimes they don't use the title in their track.
Great Gig in the Sky.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, there's no words in that at all. But what good howling in that. U4 Raymond.
There's a radio station I listen to, online radio station called Radio Paradise. And he's an old school DJ. It's a DJ run radio station, no ads. And sometimes like he'll just put on the entire back half of Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
Just like it'd be like side beat straight through.
Yep. When I was a DJ in college, I used to do that with Dark Side, with Thick as a Brick from Jethro Tull.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Not have to do anything, just hang out for 45 minutes.
Side B of Abbey Road.
Right. Hey, 238, U4 Rayman, welcome in. Scott got younger. Yeah, so I guess if you weren't here at the beginning, this is Michael Smyer. He's our in-house, wear every single hat. His job, what's your job title in one word, Michael?
Yes.
Yeah. It's yes. When there's a tech project, Michael can handle that. He doesn't already have too much on his plate, so just add one more thing.
The problem is I don't know how to say no.
Yeah. I have a similar problem. I'm not allowed to say no. Port 443. What album is that on from Pink Floyd, Tullowit? Last Starfighter. Thank you very much. I knew if anybody was going to come up with it, you would certainly be in the top of the...
I definitely remember watching that as a kid.
Yeah, had Grigg in it. And a couple actors, really great old classical actors in there. Oh, good. We're catching up.
I guess it was kind of a Star Wars ripoff in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It had its own charm, you know.
Oh, the weapon at the end, the Death Blossom. That was just the coolest piece of sci-fi in the day. Michael, I'm wondering if you're the one who told me this, or I've heard it from someone else. I've never tested this. The ASCII movie.
Blinkenlights.nl. I think that's it.
Okay, let's go with that. I'm thinking somebody told me whatever this classic old movie was that was just, you know, you played it in SSH as a movie and would just kind of show it to you. Somebody told me that was gone. It's been taken offline or something.
Looking for it. Okay.
All right. It was seen by Patricia. Holly Jackson. Welcome, Holly. Yes, okay. Yes, definitely it's your destiny. What is it? This is the way. Today is Shotgun Pun Garage. It sure is. Okay, a question from Alice, of course. I'm already copying and saving it. I'm not looking at the question yet. I just see Alice has a real question, so I know I'm not going to be able to answer it. I'm saving it for research or to dump off on Mike. I'm pleased to say, now that I'm reading the question, I know the answer. So, Alice Potsy, we did one of these. Alice says at 244, main differences between an IPS and a firewall. So let's add the third one in there, IDS, an intrusion detection system. An IDS says, I have detected something suspicious, bad, malicious, or a violation of a rule set in my network. My response is to log it or to inform somebody. That's all IDSs do. They detect and they make somebody know actively or passively. They don't do anything about it. An IPS takes the IDS one step further. It's an intrusion prevention system. When it detects something malicious, something suspicious, it takes a step to stop that process. And there's all kinds of possible steps that it might have depending on the IPS. Excuse me. One of them might be to add a firewall rule right then and right there. One of them might be to disable a process, maybe turn off a network interface card, maybe shut off access to the outside world. So it can be very simple, maybe shut down an application that's being threatened. So the relationship there is tight in some instances with IDSs. With IPSs. We did an IPS lab a couple of, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, something like that, installing an IPS, and that particular IPS would watch log files for anything bad that's occurring. And if it found any, then it would update the firewall with the new rule that stopped that. And we could program it to make that firewall exclusion, sorry, it's not exclusion, an exclusion allows, that firewall rule permanent or temporary. He just writes it, leaves it written for the next 10 minutes. Hopefully it dissuades something like, a bombardment attack or something, and then it opens it back up again and checks the logs, is it still happening? A firewall is, man, then you get a couple of flavors of them. You get stateful and stateless ones. So a stateless firewall, the one that most of us use all the time, is just a list of rules that says if any incoming or outgoing information violates any of these rules, it's stopped. So it's not like it's detecting some kind of intrusion. It's detecting a rule violation that exists in a list, and it says, oh, that's a match, that's a rule violation. I'm not going to pass it through the wall. What do you think?
Generally what you see is a firewall is going to operate on a port. So you'll say that all traffic on all ports except port 80 and 443 is dropped. Doesn't matter. It's all dropped. And that would be kind of a tradition. And you could say inbound or outbound on the server. And that lets you, and that's a simple stateless firewall. It has no idea of the state of the packets. It's just every packet is a unique individual little snowflake. And it's just saying, hey, are you, destined for port 80 or port 443? No? Okay, I'm dropping you.
There you go.
A stateful firewall is a little bit smarter than that. It can actually know that, hey, like there is a session that left has, you know, gone out and it needs to be able to come back in. So it kind of keeps track of the state of packets as they come and go.
Right. It watches segment numbers and acknowledgements and NACs and sources and destinators and initiators and recipients, the state of communication.
But it's a filter, yeah. Firewall is a filter, and an IDS is something that detects, like, oh shoot, there is something going down. Hey, sysadmin, you might want to deal with this. Your stuff is about to be owned.
There you go.
An IPS is supposed to be a little bit smarter version of an IDS, where it's just like, I'm going to go ahead and like block that, so that you don't have to worry, and it'll let the sysadmin know something went down. Yeah.
244, Luke Butler, okay to power up my Pi using micro USB? Probably not. There's not enough power coming out of that micro USB. Most likely not. It's possible. You can give it a try. It won't hurt it. But if it's a Pi 4, I'm not sure if you said a 3 or 4. 3 runs anywhere from 1 to 2.5 amps, and Pi 4 runs from 1.1 to 3 amps, depending on the load. The usual output max of a USB 3 port is 800 milliamps, 0.8 amps. So there's probably not enough power to run a Pi out of there.
What about one of the bigger little bricks? I imagine on like a PC, but you know, if you get some of the larger charging bricks will do 10 watts over.
Yeah, they all do.
Like 2 amps, I guess. 2 amps over USB.
Yeah, they do 2.4 usually max per outlet. We're starting to see a few more that come out. If they say they can charge a tablet or a new iPhone, they'll do 2.4. And otherwise, the older phones, they only provide 1 amp out. But again, I run lots of my Pi 3s on phone chargers and power bricks and things like that. They come up sometimes with a little lightning bolt warning that says, hey, you're a little low on current here, but I'll run. So, okay. Doesn't hurt it to go low on current. 5 volts is what matters. 4.85 volts to 5.15. Any exceedance of that can damage your Pi. Okay, moving past 245. Oops, super scroll. I saw somebody mention Death Blossom down there, so I'm excited to get down there. 245. David Zentera, thank you, buddy. Good to see you here. Someone synced up Dark Side with the Wizard. Yeah, about 15 years ago. And the guys, David Gilmour and Roger Waters, did admit that, yes, in fact, they had written that. They basically scored Wizard of Oz with Dark Side, as far as pacing the music goes and things like that. What's the side of an album? Elbow, you goober. What's an album? What's the salary position as a yes? Michael, I happen to know Michael's salary. He makes $11,500 a year, so he's just in it for the technology that Mike lets him play with. Yeah, see, kids, music used to. I'm moving at that. Death Blossom. Was it like a cube-shaped planetary weapon with a giant laser? It was a spaceship with 50,000 little laser turrets sticking out of it. And when they hit the big mode, it spun in all directions and shot the lasers out, everything, and killed everything that surrounded them in 3D. It was awesome. And of course, the big drama moment. This has never been tested. This is either going to work or we're going to blow up or whatever.
I want to say that movie was one of the first with substantial amounts of 3D animation in it.
Yeah, there was something you showed me years ago when I first came on board and hadn't seen it before. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? Stand still, laddie. Oh, I have a Mac. Oh, you're here today. You can talk Mac and SMB because I blast past that. Oh, good. I'm just about at the end of the questions here. I'm ready to talk about some other stuff. Don't go for low-hanging fruit, brick in the wall stuff. All right, I'm going to hold it up here at Elbow's last comment. This is ASCII SW is wild. Yeah, there you go. Wiki last. All right. So I'm holding up at 256. Little quick news of the day. There's some fun stuff that's happened this week. So let me slide on down to those notes. You know, when you use the same utilities over and over and over, and they have a way of using it. You're on a website, you want to move down a page, you hit the space bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that all the time, all day. So I just hit the space bar in my Word document. You know what happened? I put a space.
He gave you a space.
Imagine that. All right. So last week we did a how to boot your Pi from an external device. That can dovetail into this week if we want. But last week was all about booting. It really wasn't about adding an external device. If you want to add and use an external device, it's really, really simple. You can do a FAT32 format if it's small enough on it from Windows. You can do it natively on your Pi, whatever. Just plug it in and it works. It'll pop up in the boot folder or in the root folder, depends on which version of Linux you're using, and you can use it. You can also do that with an NTFS drive, but you've got to load a couple of other support files because most Linuxes don't natively speak NTFS. The best way to do it is to put a blank, never been partitioned or formatted, or it's been departitioned, plug it in, and then use gparted from in the Linux environment and set up an ext4 partition or partitions on it. Then it's native, it understands. And the cool thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of file system you put on there, you're going to be able to put files on there and share them out with Samba. So FAT32 or NTFS or ext3 or ext4 or ButterFS. I don't think I'd recommend that. But
hey, I am running, how many? About 100 terabytes of files on ButterFS. So
you are, and they're shareable there. So cool.
Yeah. So
and LVM is a new one. So that's
what don't use. If you're using ButterFS, do not use the built-in RAID features of ButterFS.
On a RAID array.
You can use it. You can use ButterFS on a rated volume, but ButterFS can implement the RAID level stuff. That's kind of bad news, though.
Right. If you do that on a hardware RAID array, you're doing RAID within RAID, and that's going to be a huge waste, I would think.
Well, there's bugs in the parity code.
Oh, okay.
That it has been known to, so if you use the kind of RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 7 stuff, it has been known to crash and kill the data, which is bad.
We haven't gotten into ButterFS yet, and we're probably not going to for another year, so don't panic, but look at a BUTR. All right, so this is Samba Day. This is what we're doing today. We're going to look at a method to share files and folders on your network using a process that's already baked into Windows. Windows has this effectively proprietary file sharing and printer sharing protocol called SMB, or server message blocks. It came from a previous file block sharing system called CIFS, C-I-F-S, Common Internet File Sharing. And they own it. So if you want to use SMB, you got to license it from them. And if you have, there's a lot of different boxes out there that license it. We don't care. Because it's so good, it's one of those great things that came out of Microsoft that has a lot of value and a lot of functionality. It, like Unix, was duplicated into a protocol that's used primarily in the Linux environment, but in others, called SAMBA. Doesn't stand for anything, but it's got SMB in it. So cool, their file sharing system, their printer sharing system. And I want you to notice something here. If you have a router, a little Soho router, maybe the one you got from your ISP, and it's got USB ports in the back of it, that router is running Samba inside. You can do an FTP server in there, or you can do a Samba server in there. Plug in an external drive, plug in a flash drive, go into the router settings and enable it, and it'll ask you for a share name. It'll ask you for account names, and you can set all that up to share files and folders on a router using Samba. Well, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to load the Samba support processes on a Linux boxes on our Raspberry Pi. And for today's lab, I'm just going to use a folder that we set up on the micro SD card, but just as easy to do it on any external drive that you've plugged in. So very cool. Any other good notes on what we're going to do? Oh yeah, so the value of this. if you set up an FTP server and you want people in your organization to share it, you got to teach them how to use an FTP server. And the same goes for a lot of the other file sharing processes and protocols. This is one that people are used to. If you go to File Explorer and into Network, you can find computers that have shared resources and click on them, or a very simple type-in method to do that. So it's very user-friendly. It's in line with people's experience. And then they can use this as a repository in-house. I save my files up there. I share files with other people because they can pick them up from up there and so forth. You can do it on a single personal database or a single person basis. I only want Fred to be able to use this as an external client, and he can share my files that I put in this folder, and I can share them with him. Or you can open it up for wider usage to other users. You can use different account names with them. You can open it up with no account name. This is the company's scratch folder. We don't care what you do with it. If you delete every file in here, that's kind of mean, but we're going to allow that. Maybe we'll do it periodically just because we want to clean out the system.
I actually, I think we might have. Hold on.
Okay.
Looked like I was getting a spinner on the stream there for a second.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're good.
All right, news and tricks of the week. Michael, do you know, Michael knows everything. I don't know why I ask him these questions, but mkdir -p. Are you familiar?
Not with the -p.
I got a slideshow then. Let me show you this. This is awesome. It's just a little trick that I ran into this week.
Is that on a Unix system or Linux?
Had on a forum that I frequent. And oh my gosh, that is like beyond cool.
Oh, that does look handy. Okay.
Isn't that handy? So Michael gets
Yes.
it a quarter second. Everybody else, this isn't what I want to share with you. I want to do this. Stand by.
I have done that.
Yeah, me too. It's one of those things that if you don't do regularly.
But I don't remember. Yeah, I so rarely.
All right, so this is cool. Let's say that you want to build a folder structure. And here's an example. I've got a folder structure here that's already built. We use this one all the time. Here's the root directory of some Linux system, and there's a folder under there called home, and there's a folder under there called Pi. We all use that in a Raspberry Pi environment. So if we were to write that out as a path, it would say whack home, whack pi. But let's say that I want to build 3 folders deeper under that, so that the result looks something like this. Well, the way we would do it if we didn't know what I'm about to show you would go something like this. Can I get over to that arrow without their shenanigans now? So I would start in my home folder and I would say mkdir space test. And the result would be a test folder appears underneath there. Now I want another folder underneath there. So I got to run a command again, mkdir test /level1. Test stays there and level 1 appears beneath it. And now let's stick another folder underneath there, mkdir test /level1 whack level 2. And hey, I achieved my goal that I set out at the beginning. I wanted a folder structure that had test level 1 and level 2 under Pi. It took me 3 steps to accomplish that. Wouldn't it be cool if you could accomplish that in 1 step? So we start out with our clean folder structure here. We want it to look like this. And so mkdir -p, and then all of the levels that you want to build in 1 fell swoop. And bingo, with 1 command, off you go. So mkdir /p, just a handy dandy little tool. Michael Smyer has disappeared, but I'm sure he'll be back. He changed over his entire computer so he could do some testing. If I know Michael, that's probably not much of an exaggeration. All right, I still see myself online, so that's a good sign. All right, 2 more news of the week's kind of things. I can, yeah, there's no more of those. I can get rid of that. Man, there's some exciting stuff this week. RPi, Raspberry Pi operating system, has taken another step to make the Raspberry Pi operating system and Linux more easier, more user-friendly, let's call it more Windows-like. They have created, welcome back, Michael. They have created an update a couple of days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, something like that, that added a couple awesome new features, fixed some old stuff as with all updates. So the two big fixes right now are they pulled out an audio mixing system that they've had almost since the beginning of time. It was a system called ALSA, A-L-S-A, and it stands for something somebody wants to look up. I don't care because it's gone. But the problem with ALSA as a mixer is you could take a sound source. Maybe it's an audio source from a stream like this, or maybe it's music that you're playing or whatever, and it would go through the mixer and it would go to the appropriate audio output. And that's all you got. If you wanted to change the audio output, let's say from HDMI to a 3.5 millimeter speaker jack, you had to quit the program, go into the ALSA mixer, reset it for a different output, and then start your program again. What a pain. It also was really painful to work with Bluetooth output devices. So they dumped ALSA this week and replaced it with the Pulse Audio, one word, sound server. Lots of people have used that and disabled Pulse Audio. I don't know if there was a licensing issue that took so long to work it out or whatever. I got to change my camera here. I got a reflection. There we go. If there was a licensing agreement or something like that, but whatever it is, they're using Pulse Audio now, which is a big favorite of everybody. Has much better support. You can real-time change your audio output to USB speakers or HDMI speakers or Bluetooth speakers or 3.5 millimeter jack headset or speakers or whatever. So that's really cool. The awesomest, greatest thing, I had a plan for early next year to do a lab with you about adding printers. Man, adding printers in Linux is a double-edged pain, excuse me, because number one, drivers. There are Linux drivers out there for x86 more than there are Linux drivers for ARM. So we got a real short supply of printers that are supported here. And then we have to use this printer sharing, installing, supporting protocol or program or whatever you want to call it, called CUPS. I even somewhere wrote down what CUPS stands for. Like anything, there's a learning curve to it. Also, like anything, you can follow step by steps and make stuff work if you got the right stuff. But that's all been absorbed into a single menu now, and auto detection is out there. Let me show you on one of my Pis. I haven't taken all the steps on this, and I'm not going to with you, but let me show you what's there now. This is really a knockout. Stand by. Okay, setting up the share. And okay, good. Click this. All right, so this has the updated operating system. I'll show you how to get that update in a couple of moments. Yeah, where'd it go? Accessories. Not in preferences. I'm sure that I rode right past it here. Let me just run through the list. It's not in Office. It's not in programming. It's not sound and video. No, graphics. Has the image viewer, other system tools. PDF, Raspberry Pi, SD card copier terminal. Man, I played with it the other day. Keyboard, print settings. There we go. Okay, so I installed this update, and then as soon as the update started, I got a message in the terminal that says, hey, I've detected these two printers, and he's automatically installed them. Now, I haven't gotten any further to configure them. I'm not sure that there's ARM drivers for this, but wow, that was like a 17-step project before that was baked into here. So massive new magic. And I'm very excited. I took a quarter of a day and I updated and upgraded all the Pis that I got operating around the house with that. And then I did an update on one of the Pis today, not thinking that it would have any significance. I did a full upgrade 4 days ago. And so I wasn't expecting the upgrade to do anything. it was huge. It was a good 6 or 7 minute update upgrade. So Michael, I see stuff you got on the back channel here. What am I missing here? Okay. Oh, all right. That would explain a lot. Sorry about that. I was talking about something when you disappeared and I didn't know what that was about. So very good. All right, let me shrink this guy. I'm done with him. No, let me close that guy. I'm done with him. Yes, I want to disconnect. I have better things to do in a bit. So that's a really cool thing. There's a, oh heck, let me show you the URL for this. I can take off my page that says 50 greatest Pink Floyd songs and replace it with this. I probably already had it up. Okay, share, make sure it comes up. Yep, it's coming up. So this, Raspberry Pi 404, not what I found. Oh, that's why. Show me, come on, paint the fence. There we go. Okay, now I got something I can share with you. So this is over on the raspberrypi.org website. And if you just go to their main page and look at their blog, you'll be able to find this. But if you're desperate to see the link for it, as soon as my upper menu goes away, you can see it there. There we go. So new Raspberry Pi OS release, December 20. They updated Chromium. Everybody's been waiting for this one. It's got DRM in it, I think. This is also the last version that's going to have Flash in it. We got Pulse Audio added to it. We got device profiles now. That's really cool. You can preset up devices that you plug and unplug, so remember those later. We've got the new printing stuff in here. There's some new accessibility tools. It's a great new addition. New hardware options. How to deal with the power LED. There's another menu that's going to manage their new case fan. So you can plug the case fan into any GPIO that you want, enable it or disable it, have it trigger on a particular temperature. So all you need is the Raspberry Pi imager, or you can download an image from raspberrypi.org WAC downloads. And then once you've got it, oh, and if you're doing a new install, if you're already got it, just do sudo apt update and sudo apt full - upgrade. And it's a long thing to do. And then in order to get rid of some of the vestiges of the old ALSA stuff, just follow step by step on this page. I'm not going to post it for you because I like it, but just not that much. So cool stuff. Man, that was awesome. And the updates do take a while, and there's some yes, no's in there. You'll get hung up waiting for them, so don't panic. Got rid of that. Other piece of news, so new features, did that. There was a single board computer that was released, I don't know, year and a half ago with an Intel processor. It's an x86 processor. It's got a Celeron on there. It was called Hackboard. It didn't get a lot of press. It was really just a super small form factor PC. It was okay for the price. Well, they've upgraded and they're crowdfunding it right now. They've passed the crowdfund, and when I get done today at the end of the evening, I'm going to buy one of these. It's called Hackboard 2. Let me show you the URL. I got that one already set up, so a quick share on it. And I want to show you a couple of the basic features and the basic pricing, because to me, there's something just super insanely exciting about here. So it looks a little bit bigger than a Raspberry Pi. And they're trying to compare this to a Raspberry Pi, and kind of sort of it does. Their base model's $100. And it comes with a baked in Ubuntu. You can delete that and put on Windows 10, another flavor of Linux, anything that supports x86. It's really kind of slick. What do you get for your money here? So for 99 bucks, you get a Linux version. For 140 bucks, you get one with Windows 10 Pro on it. That should excite you. If you go out and buy a retail copy of Windows 10 Pro right now, it's 140 bucks. So you're getting a copy of Win 10 Pro at cost, and they're throwing in a computer. Now, basic features and specs. It's dual core, 64-bit. It says up to 2.8 gigahertz. Its base clock is 1.1. So it's no screamer. But again, we're in for $100. 4 megs of cache RAM, 4 megs of real RAM, and a 64 gig eMMC flash. That basically means a built-in flash drive. And of course you can add, well, wait to see what you can add. It's got, with that Intel processor, their ultra high def graphics card. That's decent output, 4K, 2.1, audio, video, Wi-Fi, AC, Bluetooth 5.1, gigabit Ethernet. And it's got slots for a 4G or 5G cell modem that they provide. They're expensive. The 5G is $299 more. 3 USB 3 ports, a USB 2 5-pin camera port. Holy Hannah, look at these 3 things. I'm pretty much done after this. It's got the same 40-pin GPIO header as Raspberry Pi. Now, I don't know how that manifests. I don't know how you use it yet in a Windows, a Wintel environment, but man.
Yeah, you'd have to have the drivers and the APIs available.
Yep.
That's like one big difference between the SoCs that they run on the Pis and that Celeron that they're running on that guy is Intel chips don't have all the GPIO available.
Right.
That
yeah, because they're designed for
old school PCs. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's over at crowdsupply.com, Hackboard WAC HB2. Check it out. I am ordering one tonight. They're talking about April deliveries. And I've messed with a couple of crowdfundings. Maybe you have. Some of them have not completed their projects crowdfunding. And in that case, I got a full refund. I've never played with these guys, so I don't know.
I've only done one thing that was crowdfunded, and it was a notebook. And I got my notebook, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay, so off of there and over, let's get out of this.
I'm one of those weird stationary people.
See, that thing was news, but it's not worth it in the case of the other news. I want you to check out elementary.io. If it's interesting to you, cool. If not, TLDR. All right, look at a couple more questions and then we'll do a SAMBA project. How do I get to the questions? Oh, you go over back to this page. It's got this stuff. Oh man, so every time I do, that's the delay. My screen is showing that I just got out of that. So I'm gonna refresh, stand by. Standing by, I'll sing Pink Floyd songs. I
just listened to Dark Side of the Moon.
Good for the soul, man.
It's good stuff. That's what the good headphones are for.
Yep. All right, so I think I left off in the 250s. Dave really should put up a Gloria Estefan for Samba Day. Yeah, that would have, good call. Get in touch with me next time and I'll have a good opener thing. Please teach us Python. No, I'm not going to teach you Python. I found a guy who's got a good course to teach me Python. Join us in class.
Yeah, if you want to learn, it is a big, programming itself is something that's definitely quite enjoyable and fun to do, but especially if you're new to it, it's good to take a well-structured class to start you, because like so many things, it's not about, it's not really about the code, it's about how you think about problem solving. So
there you go. It's logic, huh?
Yeah, it's logic. It's thinking through a problem, breaking it down into the steps, understanding what you're trying to solve, things like that. So,
and I would add to that, understanding the capabilities of the programming language that you're using.
I mean, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But if it's Turing complete, you can, in theory, do anything with any language that's Turing complete. You can even use PostScript if you wanted to, which is a Turing complete programming language, believe it or not.
At 3:10, new voice in the crowd, Dominic Mallow. Welcome, Dominic. Wants to know what this is. So this is one of our Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Ask Me Anything streams that's conducted by Total Seminars. Total Seminars is the #1 provider of educational materials for CompTIA certifications like A+, ITF+, Security Plus, Network Plus. And we do those on Monday, Wednesday with Mike Myers, the author and owner of Total Seminars. And then on Fridays, I work for Mike. He brings me on and lets me kill 2 hours talking about Raspberry Pis, how they can be used for certifications, how they can be used as other learning tools, and what you can do with them for just general principles and fun principles. Today's topic of the day we're just about to get on is how to turn a Raspberry Pi computer into a SAMBA server so you can share files with other users in your home or your office or whatever. So cool stuff. Alice likes the way you phrased your turn down at 3:10. I like that. So welcome, Dominic. Please stick around. Check out Mike's show on Mondays and Wednesdays if you're into any of this CompTIA stuff or you just want to learn about computers. We take questions on any technical topic. Cheating, not me, man. Luke Butler, I'm a noob with Raspis. Everybody here is. Yeah, you know what? It's like everything else that you've ever been a noob at. It's scary the first time you do anything. Am I going to ruin it? Well, first of all, if you ruin it, you'll spend 35 bucks. It's not the worst expenditure that you will ever ruin. But the cool thing about this is ruining things is mostly a software problem. And the worst case scenario is you smoked your micro SD card, program a fresh image, and start over. The worst is going to cost you is an hour or 2 out of your life, depending on.
Yeah, you got to make the mistakes.
Yep.
As I was mentioning in the chat, you got to make the mistakes. You got to blow it up. You got to just delete that critical file, and then you're just like, oh, don't do that, and then go back and then fix it.
Everybody here has that story. Those of you who know Scott from AMA and on here, the first thing he did with his first computer was to wipe out his C drive. So he had to learn everything from scratch, how to install, well, back in those days, Microsoft DOS or early version of Windows. That's how you learn this stuff. When you're talking about printer drivers, I don't know why you'd have problems as they are right. So yeah, it's Pi oriented because they've got ARM chips in them. The best company who makes ARM drivers for their printer is Brother. They make them for every printer that they ever released. Love them for that.
I'd be interested to see now that the M1
printer company for that
Apple's released the M1 chip, how that's going to affect the downstream stuff like the Pi. Because there's going to be suddenly so much more software that's going to be compiled for ARM at that point.
Tell them what, yes, the Pi can run a daisy wheel. That's the cool thing because the driver is so simplistic. It's an ASCII driver because all you got to do is trigger a letter or a shift.
Those printers, they weren't even really drivers, right? They were just serial devices.
Yeah,
you just send a stream of ASCII to them, right?
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, the earliest ones. Yeah. Okay, you're talking to Andre, passing 317. Andre, you guys are so bad. Super scroll. Yeesh. I'm way behind. I may wind up skipping some questions because I'm going to get onto this Samba thing. Where are we at? 25. It's 25. I'm going to drop questions for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just kind of keep an eye on it.
Okay, that sounds good. I do want to see Alice's note at 317. I love how Linux makes the most of your hardware, and I love the command line. Everything is there. No need for fancy graphical menus. Man, you are barking up Michael's tree. When it comes to design versus GUI, Michael has very strong and solid opinions.
The very first thing I start up when I start up my Mac in the morning is my terminal. And I use it. I use it daily.
Yes, he does. And we ask him questions. Hey, I got a command line issue. He pretty much knows the answer. All right.
It's very handy when I'm setting up a development server and the like, or syncing stuff.
All right, let me set up my sharing. Click, click, click.
As a minor aside, if you need to copy a whole lot of stuff on a Windows machine, don't drag and drop. Use the terminal and use a program called RoboCopy that comes with every modern version of Windows. It will let you be very fine-grained, but with your copy, and you can duplicate folders, drives, everything, and log everything so that when you're moving lots of data around, it makes it a lot easier that way.
Okay, the tutorial that I'm basing today's exercise on comes from this website, https://piupmylife.com, raspberry-pi-samba. It was written last year. It's okay. It's got a couple of errors in it because of changes that have happened to Win 10. But if you want to follow along, you can do it that way. You can just watch what I've got going on, and I will show you the improvements where they've messed up. Let me bring up a Raspberry Pi computer running Linux. There's one. Now I've got a lot of the pre-work done on here because of some of the long downloads, and they're not very long. They're 5 or 6 minutes. And I've got a working Samba on here, but we'll do one fresh, and I'll show you everything that's going on and show you what I have done in the past. So switching over to my instructions. First of all, I kind of mentioned this. If you set up a Samba server, what you're doing is you are designating a particular folder to be shareable with any other device that speaks SMB or Samba. So you can put files in there, you can take files out of there, you can change files that are in there. Okay, who can do that stuff? Well, that's your choice. You can make that folder completely open. Anybody can go there. They won't be prompted for an account name or a password, or you can set up access with passwords and account names. Then you can set up permissions on the files, even on what you want people to do to them. This file can only be read. Nobody can delete it. Nobody can change it. Nobody can overwrite it. This file is completely mutable, changeable. So you've got a lot of power in there. We're just going to do a fairly simple one here. I'll only do one complex thing, and that's we'll set it up with the account name access for somebody. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. What do you need? Well, you need a Raspberry Pi. Which one? It doesn't matter. They all work. But since we're all working in the year 2020, minutes away from 2021, let's compare using a Raspberry Pi 3 against a Raspberry Pi 4. If you're going to do this on a micro SD card, it doesn't matter. Micro SD cards are about the same in either platform. That's okay as a temporary thing, and it's good for a lab today. But if I'm going to do this as a real thing, I want to do this with an external device, then first of all, I want an external device that's got some decent performance, a SATA drive in a USB enclosure, an SSD in a USB enclosure, even a fast thumb drive plugged into USB is going to be faster than using the micro SD card. And you got USB 3 ports that are full speed on the Raspberry Pi 4, whereas there's only USB 2 ports on a Raspberry Pi 3. So if I were going to do this for real, then I would use the Pi 4. Also be aware, Samba uses NetBIOS and some other unroutable protocols, which means you can't access this thing from outside your network or across a network. So it's only going to be an internal resource. Yeah, there's some heavy magic and VPNs that you could use to pull that off, but that's really not passing a router. That's using a VPN to pass the router, and now you're in that environment. All right, so you need a Raspberry Pi. Of course, it's got to boot off of something. Maybe it's a micro SD card. Maybe you do what we did last week and you use an external USB device. You need a network connection. And ideally, you have an external storage device if it's a for real thing. Cases are useful. Keyboards and mice are useful. I don't use keyboards and mice. You know that. I do everything headless the way we're doing this here. So there's no keyboard or mouse on any of the 5 Raspberry Pis that I've got sitting here in front of me. All right, first thing you got to do before you do anything is make sure your system's up to date. I'm not going to do this because I did it today, and I expect this to go really fast if I did it right now, but start it out with sudo apt update. And then if you want to do it on a second line, after this is done, sudo apt upgrade and answer yes to the question, or just make them happen sequentially one after the other. Sudo apt update ampersand, ampersand, which means and then do sudo apt -y for yes, I don't want to be prompted by the, do you really want to do this? Just yes, I do. Upgrade. And again, if I hit this right now, since I did it a couple hours ago, it should happen lickety split, but I don't want to run that risk. I want to get on and do this thing. So that, of course, is something we do before we ever do any kind of additional software. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add SAMBA, and it has one set of support files. So we're going to do it all on one line. Again, I did this on this machine this morning. I'm going to run a risk and hit the enter key, and hopefully it'll say, you already have the most current. Leave me alone. I got nothing to do. But if he tries to overdo it and overwrite it, it's not going to hurt anything. The worst case is it's about a 5 or 6 minute install. And this one at one point has a yes or no question. It's going to ask if you want to update support for WINS, W-I-N-S. If you don't know what WINS is, or if you know that you have never installed a WINS server, which would have happened about 13 years ago, say no, which is the default answer. All right, let's hit the big enter key here, see what happens. If it goes a long time, oh good, that was quick. So I added 2 features in here, and also they used apt-get. I think that's important for us all to remember. Anybody who takes an exam for A+ or Network+, where it wants us to know a little bit about Linux, the exams don't use the apt command, they use the old apt-get command. There's minor differences. I'm not getting into that today. I don't care today. We've talked about it in the past. So
that's specific to Debian-based Linux systems, by the way.
Right,
so if you're on a Red Hat-based system, they don't use apt.
So it installed SAMBA, and it installed a dependency called SAMBA common bin. Good, all done. And there's a bunch of stuff left over from a million years ago that I could get rid of right now with sudo apt auto remove. No sense watching that right now. All right, so SAMBA's installed. At least the programs are there that can do SAMBA. So next we've got to create a folder that we're going to share. So I might go over, if I had an external drive, to the external drive. Maybe I called it X. It's not that out there. It's going to gag. And then when I got there, I would make a folder there that I want to be my share folder. So let's look at the folders here. You can see one that I made earlier today. I'll follow their lab a little bit. They said make a folder called shared. So, okay, mkdir. And since I'm already in the folder where I want that to appear, I don't have to do a full path. I can just say shared. Their exercise says mkdir / whack home, whack pi, whack shared. Fine. All right, that's the folder that I'm ultimately going to share out. And now we've got to tell the system that that's what we want to be shared by the SAMBA process. So first thing we're going to do is open up the SAMBA configuration file and edit it. So the command to do that, oh darn it, I said copy, not paste. Okay, so use supervisor powers, use the little built-in editor Nano, and here's the path to the SAMBA configuration file. It's in whack etc whack samba whack smb.conf. And then they say you got to add the following lines. So I will. And they say add them to the end. Now when I go down to the end of this configuration file, you see that I've already done this one time for a different folder. I created that share test folder and I called it PyShare. So here, let me add this line in. Here comes another share. All right, so here's the lines that I need for SAMBA to share out a file. First, I have to give it a share name. That one that I created before. There's no mouse functioning features in Nano. It's a text editor and you got to use your keyboard. Let me see something. I'm checking their instructions to see what I stole and what I didn't. Okay, we can call this anything we want. So I called my other one Pi share. So I can call this one shared. I can call it Dave, Dave's share. You can call it anything you want. Keep it short and simple and memorable. So I'll call this one, since I called that one Pi share, let's make this one share Pi. All right. And then you provide a path to it. So this is the exact path that was created correctly in my home folder, in my Pi folder. I made a folder called share. Are you going to allow people to write into this folder? That's a yes or no. The create mask. This is a permission slip that says, how much permission will I allow people to have on this folder? 777 means everything to everybody. And then finally, do you want to force account names and passwords on here? If I say no, that means anybody can connect to this without an account name or a password. If I say yes, which is what the tutorial wants us to do, then we'll have to make an account name and a password for it. So, okay, fine, I'll do that. And we save it, Control X. Yes, enter. All right, it's almost done. And they explain all that stuff just as I did in that tutorial right underneath it. We've saved it, we've completed step 6, we're on step 7. Now we got to make up a user. Now I made up a user already before, and this is interesting. This is a SAMBA user. It's not a user that exists in the Linux box. So I happen to have a username called Pi in this Linux box, and their exercise said make a SAMBA user called Pi. Those two guys are unrelated. So when I make my new user here, I'm going to call him Dave. And I'm going to say SAMBA. Whoops, we're on the wrong page here. All right, I'll copy and paste theirs and then edit it. So we're going to create a sudo SAMBA password add. This is going to create a user and prompt me for a password for that. So we'll call him Dave. Lowercase names and things like that are case sensitive here. Okay, and what's Dave's password going to be? Hey, let's go nuts. Dave. When you type in a password with most Linux utilities, it doesn't show it to you. So I typed it in, you didn't even see the cursor move. So it says, you might have typoed, do it again just to make sure you got it right. So again, D-A-V-E. I typoed it. Dave. Okay. You also have to have a user created called Dave. Fine. We'll do it this way. I already did this once. It shouldn't gag. Oh, I see what happened. I hit the caps lock key when I did my typo. But I'm just going to do it the way they want to do it. New SMB password. I'll use Raspberry, R-A-S-P-B-E-R-R-Y. R-A-S-P-B-E-R-R-Y. Okay. So same as a user account that already exists in here. All right, only one more step to activate that SAMBA share, and that's to simply restart it as a process. It's not the right name for it. So sudo system control restart the SMB daemon or server. So that causes all those changes to take effect. Hey, we're done on the Pi. All we got to do now is access it. And I discovered something kind of interesting when we did this. Come here, you. Let's see, we called that one share Pi, right? Yeah, I did Pi share on the first one, share Pi on the second one. So let me open up a Windows Explorer here and go get it. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me share that. All right, so this is where their tutorial falls apart. They talk about some menu items that used to exist File Explorer, they don't exist anymore. So I'm just going to open up File Explorer anytime, anywhere. And now let's do this. What you would normally do in a Windows share is go down to Network, click on Network, and do a right click anywhere in here and refresh. And it'll go out and find all of the resources that are shareable out there. But the way I have my firewall set up in both the Pi and in here, it doesn't auto find like that. We'll give it a minute to try. It should find at least 3 machines on here.
I don't know what it is, but I have not found the network discovery on Windows to be very good since Windows 2000. That was the last time I remember it being working really, really well.
Yep, it's horrible. So you can't be in the network page in order to make this work. You got to be in any page that shows files and folders. So, all right, I'm showing files and folders here. And I want to go click on the home here. And then over here, we're going to click easy access. So I pull the down arrow and I'm going to map that share as a drive. So he's going to prompt me for a drive letter. I've already used Y and Z for some other things. So he says X is the next one, working from the back of it. And then you say double backslash. And if you were able to see the name of your Pi, you could put the name of the Pi in. Otherwise, you've got to put its IP address in. So you're going to have to look that up, 192.168.1.120. And then backslash the name of the share. Share Pi is what I called it. And you got to say connect using different credentials. Because otherwise it'll try to use the credentials that I'm using logged in here to my Windows machine. We say finish. He calls over there. He says, all right, I see you've used the Pi credentials in the past. All right. So I put in the password raspberry, RASPBERRY. If I don't want to remember my credentials, we can forget this next time. Remember them because I'm just going to delete this later. Okay. So I ran into this last time. This is a time issue. It takes a while for this to work. But it worked that second time. And hey, there it is. So there's no files in there. What a bummer, right? Because I didn't put any in there. I could put some in there right now. Let's go to a folder that's got stuff that's safe for you to see. How about my Orange Pi template and a lab? I'll copy those. I'll go back to that folder. Right click, paste. Oh, there.
I think there's something up because I'm not seeing any of this stuff changing on your end at all.
Okay.
And it looks like
that, oh, I see what happened. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yep, I was still sharing the other thing.
Yeah.
Man, that was a total waste.
I was trying to, I saw some stuff behind on the main stream, so I wasn't quite sure. So, but they're
you get it from me verbally. All right, so here's
Zach wasn't able to see.
Yeah, here's the result. But here's the goal there. When you go through this thing, their tutorial is right except for one stupid thing. They say that there's an option up here called computer. You just go to home, click easy access, map as drive, pick a drive letter, and write the path in to your Pi and your share. Whack, the IP address.
And it's not showing that because it's only showing your window.
Right, you're not seeing the menu, but there's a little, because there's a little sub menu, but you'll see it happen in, well, heck, I'll share that with you. That doesn't hurt. So as soon as I hit that share, it popped up this little menu, and they show this menu to you accurately on that tutorial. There we go. So he said, here's a drive letter that I think you should use. So what folder do you want to access that's shared? Whack, the IP address of your Pi, 192.168.1.120, and then whack the name of the share. Let's do it to that first share that I did, share Pi. Because I got 2 different shares out there. And then make sure you connect using different credentials. Finish it. He goes out, checks to see if it exists, prompts you for credentials. If you didn't want to use Pi as a credential, you go down here into more choices and pick different account. But I like that. So Pi, put in the password we created, Raspberry. Choose whether or not you want it to remember. It chokes the first time, that's okay. Remember my credentials, okay. And screen sharing just stopped, that's all right. It was a huge changeover. But I'll share that and you'll see it. This is the one that I created earlier. So it's gonna have a couple different files. It's got that Orange Pi template. It's got the Raspberry Pi template. And the nice thing is every time you map these drives, they exist down here. So every different share that you make, you can access just by going to one of these drive paths. There's my W, my X, and my Y drive, and my Z drive, which is a company resource. So that's it, man. SMB sharing is simple. It's easy, it's fun. And I want you to try that. Even just a simple share on your micro SD card, and you're up and running. And
a small tip, you don't have to map a drive if you don't want to. You can just type that same path in the little Explorer, the address bar.
I'll show them that.
Yeah. And so if you don't want it permanent and you just want to go quickly to it, you can do that.
So here's what Michael's talking about. Up here in the path bar, oops, got to click over here. You can just type in the path to a share. Whack, whack, IP address in this case.
You'll have to set up a DNS server and
yeah, of course.
Get it to do that way.
That's in my first of the year. I'm planning on doing a DNS server in January. Pi share, share Pi. And bam, there you are. It's not permanently remembered. Save files in there, delete files from there, copy files from there.
And if you're on a Mac, you can do all the same thing. You just go to, with Finder, go up to the Go menu and then say Connect to Server.
Let me show
and you'll have a menu that pops up and you can just type in that same IP address.
Yeah, let me show you that tutorial, Michael, and see if you agree with what they're saying here. Because that was something that I wasn't going to do. So connect your, it says go over here. Is this Finder?
Yes, that's Finder.
Okay.
Yep, that's Connect to
Server.
Server.
Walk you through step by step. Click on whatever this is.
That's Go.
Okay, go and select Connect to Server. There we go. Just as you said. Type the path in, connect, and you're in biz. So for the three of you out there still using Macs, stop it.
The kind of a small interesting thing is SMB is the default file and folder sharing protocol on a Mac these days, and has been for quite a few years. So it's just a solid little protocol, although where it does break down is on high latency, low bandwidth links.
By definition, high latency bandwidth.
Well, some protocols work okay on it, like HTTP and the like, but SMB, because of its nature as replicating access to a block file system, is not as great.
I'm sorry.
I can tell you accessing a VPN, accessing a file share over VPN can be a little bit frustrating, but it does work.
I left off at 315. I can only go back now as far as 323. So I'm just kind of speed through these and see if I can find any questions that are great or useful. Conversations between people I'm going to ignore. I'm looking to buy in 2 new monitors, any decent ones for cheap that you can recommend. I like Asus monitors. I bought a 23-inch HP usual HD the other day for 99 bucks at Micro Center. All the good brand names. Who do you like, Michael?
For monitors, higher end stuff, NEC and EZO are always good, but Asus is good. Trying to think, are all solid. I mean, there's some lower end stuff like Acers and things that are okay. depends on what you're looking for. There's gaming, and then there's graphics, and then there's kind of everyday stuff. Marty at 329 was asking about, is Samba a modified FAT32 system? It is not. It is a network file system, not a disk file system like FAT32 is. So they serve different functions.
Right. Samba is a file sharing system.
Yeah.
Whereas file systems are how you lay down files and folders on disks and how they're tracked and things like that. He also had a question back at 324. Is there a limit to operating systems that you can multi-boot into? I guess, first of all, the question is, are you talking about an x86 platform, a Wintel AMD, or are you talking about Linux, or are you talking about Raspberry Pi? The next thing is, there's probably a limit for any of those machines that you can do multi-booting on. I would ask, I don't do this usually. In fact, I hate people who say, I want to do this, how do you do this? And somebody says, why would you want to do that? There's a better way. But multi-boot is dead. This is 2020, and we have virtual machines. The problem with multi-boot is you boot into an operating system, and that's what you get. You play with it until you want to use another operating system, and then you got to reboot, go into your Grub bootloader, or activate the next one that you want to boot up, and you boot it up, and then you've got that one. So we install things into virtual machines now, and you can run them all at the same time.
I remember in college, there was someone, like, it was on the internet, and they showed like booting like every experimental OS on the same machine. You could get a stupid number of operating systems on a single PC with a lot of finagling. So there's no technical limit.
Yeah. There's got to be one somewhere, but it all comes
practical limit, yeah.
Yeah, partition entries, but with GPT,
it's pretty. I mean, yeah, I think it's relatively unlimited.
Yeah, pretty much. Alice, it just struck me. I'm looking at your 327 comment. Alice Potsy, Command Line Forever. Yes, and it strikes me that would be just the awesome name for a band, Alice and the Command Line. Yes, Alice, Robocopy is in A+. It is. How are we doing here? Zooming along, passing 328. So Samba's modified. That was your question you found. Anyone else at your home who's stopping you? If you want to, this is Michael's line, but I want to read it. If you want to spiffy up your terminal, check out. Oh yeah, oh my ZH. In fact, ZSH. I just saw Kali just switched to ZSH as their default shell now.
A lot of them did. Apple did a version or two ago.
ZSH for anybody. We're usually, if you're playing on the Raspberry Pi Linux, Raspberry Pi OS, you're using the B shell, bash. And it's very common. It's not the only one out there. There's C shells and Bourne shells and K shells. Z shell takes the best of all of those and kind of integrates them into one super cool super shell.
Bash is the born again shell.
Sliding by your comments, sudo rmf. Stop it. Delete that sudo rm -r root command. Don't anybody try that.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. Unless you know where McFly lives and you're going to go to his house and throw red paint at his dog later. Get no colors.
I want to remember there was some change to the way RM works that that is less of a foot gun than it used to be.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I still would not run it on a system you care about.
Last year, Michael.
What?
Remember the viral hoax last year? Oh, I accidentally did this, except he never did. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Some guy who claimed he blew away an entire important, massive system by doing RMR from the root. But it turned out he hoaxed.
All right, I'm curious. I'm going to bring up a VM.
All right, I will read through questions. Doing the mic, just reading questions. We got about 4 minutes left, so
yeah,
moving fast. Yeah, like I don't have that built into every computer. Telewit, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. I hated Win 10. You should just put a period after that. Oh, no more. When I was studying for A+, so many places to look for troubleshooting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated system.
It's because Microsoft is the opposite of Apple. They refuse to get rid of anything. You can run Windows 1.0 apps with very minor modification on a Windows 10 system.
Cool.
You know,
it's the end. I'm passing 344. Yes. I
well, at least on Windows 32-bit.
344. Andre can do soldering. We've got to talk about that. We got soldering projects to do. Lockdown in paradise. Even Andre are talking, Alice and Tullowit are talking with each other. Oops, super scroll. That's perfect. We're getting so close to the end here. All right, hey, you know, it's getting toward the end. I don't see any stunning questions that require our responses or attention. So we're going to the Discord server after this. It'll take me 5 or 6 minutes after we shut down to do a little bit of cleanup and arranging around here. And once that's done, I'll be on Discord. And you're running this weekend, right, Michael? Or you're helping out a run?
No, not this weekend.
Okay.
Some friends and I got together last weekend to do a race.
We got a little bit more lighting to work on in our house this weekend. And that's about it.
Yeah, all of the, I don't know if anyone out there is in the running community, but all of the races this year are just completely, you know, evaporated. So it's.
Right. Would you repost the Discord link, Michael?
Sure.
Since that earlier one dropped off. I'll throw up the contact info one more time.
There is the link.
Okay, so got questions that didn't get answered today, you want to talk to us outside of this forum, you can find us, Dave R. at Total Sem, Michael S. at Total Sem, Scott J. at Total Sem. You'll find me on Steam at drushtx. And like and subscribe, please, because Mike says he wants you to like and subscribe. So, okay.
No, it helps the channel quite a bit. So, and it helps other people find us. So,
yeah. And if you haven't noticed, or if you haven't tried this, if there's something that you're interested in that Mike might have talked about, or we might have talked about here on Drama, just go to the YouTube channel and use the search engine in there. We have indexed every topic that we've talked about with timestamps. So if you look up Dave Rush Piehole in our channel, you will find the episodes where we talked about Piehole and every timestamp where I use that as a subtopic. And say if you want to talk about Mike Myers and SD-WAN, do a search in there and you will find that stuff. So it's very cool. All right, 8 seconds to go. We're going to shut it down. See you in Discord. I want everybody to have a great weekend, 2 weeks till Christmas if you celebrate that. And I think I have one more show this year because the last 2 shows of the year, the last 2 Fridays of the year are big holidays here in the States and I think all over the world, Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So we'll make an official announcement what we're going to do on those. I do hope that on one of the 2, we set up our little Zoom free-for-all. So Michael,
yep.
Happy weekend, and let's tell them all goodbye.
All right.
Good night.
See you, everybody.
Do it this way. And Michael gets to kill it.